My name is Jennifer McGuffin. I am the Chief Communications Officer for the law firm of Romanucci and Blandin. And it is my honor to introduce to you a series of speakers, each with a different perspective, all talking about the 1-year anniversary of the death of Byron Williams. I would like to start by letting you know you'll hear from attorney Antonio Romanucci of Romanucci and Blandin, then from several family members, and also from the community group Forced Trajectory Project. Let's start, please, by letting attorney Antonio Romanucci provide the context and an overview of the situation and where we are at today in terms of legal pursuit of justice. Tony.
Thank you very much, Jen, and welcome everybody. Good afternoon to you all. I wish I could say it was a good day for everybody, but I know that it's not a good day for the Byron Williams family. Today we are here because it's the 1-year anniversary of Byron's death. And when you look at the circumstances surrounding his death, it's really disappointing, and in my opinion, it's also quite disgusting that we have to continue to voice over and over again that we have to be here because people are being killed because they cannot breathe. That is a fundamental right that we have as human beings. It's not even as American citizens. As human beings, we all have the right to breathe. And when you see now, really unbelievably, it's just uncanny how over and over again police abuse their power and their practice to deny human beings the power to breathe. It's unmistakable that why we're here over and over again. We've seen it in George Floyd. We've seen it recently with Daniel Prude, but it happened to Byron Williams over 1 year ago. And why are we here? Because there's a lack of transparency. The Las Vegas Police Department will not share, won't share all of the video that it has with respect to what happened to Byron Williams. Because if they did share, that would be called transparency. And transparency isn't what they want. They want us to dig and fight, and for this family to continue to ask questions as to what happened that night. They deserve justice. They deserve answers. We're here because Byron Williams was on a bicycle without a light, and he was chased by a police vehicle. When we know that police chases are never to be even initiated with automobiles over anything that's non-deadly. This is not even a property crime. He was chased, he was run down, he was restrained, he was handcuffed, he was subdued, he was cooperative, he was non-violent. When he was on the ground, he was non-criminal. And what did he say? I can't breathe. And what did the police do? Kneel on him until he died. But we have to contend with that period of time where the police determined on their own, all together, in the code of silence conspiracy that we've seen throughout this country, to coordinate turning off their police cameras at the same time, their body cameras at the same time, so they could hide the truth. So what is it left up to? It's left up to us. It's left up to the family and the attorneys and the community to find the truth, demand justice, and bring this case to a closure. I have a lot more to say, and hopefully I'll be able to answer your questions with what more I have to say, but I want to be respectful, and I want to turn this over to the family now, to the Tinas and Renee. I want them to be able to speak and share what they feel about the loss that they suffered a year ago and their continued quest for justice. And I know that they're not going to stop. They will continue to demand and seek justice until we get it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Now I'd like to allow you to hear from two Tinas, as Tony referenced. First, you will hear from Tina Lewis Stevenson, who is Mr. Williams' sister, and followed immediately by Tina Acree, his niece. They are together, and we will start with Sister Tina first.
Thank you all. My family and I, we are very devastated and disgusted by the actions of the officers involved in my brother's death on September the 5th, 2019. Their job was to simply just place him in handcuffs and take him into custody. But they didn't. They chose to elevate the situation and murder him. And we are devastated by this, and we definitely want justice. They took a beautiful man who was not only my youngest brother, but he also looked up to me as his mother. He was a loyal uncle, cousin, and friend to all who loved him. He was inspiring to be a poet. He would write and tell us, I did my stepsister. And he wanted me to help him write books. And they took that from us. We'll never have the opportunity to do that. And it hurts and it's devastating. We definitely want justice for him. So I would be remiss, but I didn't find the stamp of my brother's murder. Unlike other voices out there who are going through what we're going through, especially without justice, we will continue to reverberate this until we're heard. Byron Williams, Byron Williams, and all the other victims out there who were murdered by the ones who swore to serve, but they didn't. They're out there murdering us. Not protecting and serving us, but murdering us. I realize all officers aren't corrupt, but the ones who are, they need to be accountable. Thank you.
We live in the United States of America. We shall live here united and fearless. I have served my country. I have been deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. And what happened to my uncle was just infuriating. On this day, he was riding his bicycle to the gas station when he was stopped for not having a light on his bicycle. Why did that end in his death? Why was he tortured, dehumanized? He said he could not breathe over and over and over again. And the officers mimicked him, they tortured him. One of the officers, as my uncle was dying, she said, "Ain't no one coming for you." And no one should ever hear that. My family has continued to mourn. There's no justice. We have not received any justice. We haven't received closure. We want full accountability. We want the officers to be fired. My uncle, he was a person. He was loved. He enjoyed teaching his nieces and nephews how to ride the bike. He taught my brother how to do a backflip. And to some of the nieces and nephews, he was like a father to them. He was loved and adored. He was a human. He did not deserve to be murdered. And we want justice. We want closure. We want transparency, accountability under the law. We stand with all families that have been impacted by violence, including the Families United for Justice. And we just pray for solidarity and peace and hope.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. We'd also like to let you hear from Mr. Williams' cousin, Renee Ricks Jones. Renee?
Hello, everyone. As you heard from his sister, my sister, his niece, on September the 5th will never be the same for us. This day now for us brings hurt, pain, and it just reminds us of the inequalities and the injustice for Byron Williams, who was my brother, my cousin, who was murdered by Las Vegas. Byron was loving and caring and funny and so athletic. I remember a time as a child, I was about 8, he was about 6. We were playing outside. I cut my foot on some glass and it started to bleed. He took off his sock and he wrapped it around my foot to stop the bleeding, like a tourniquet. He was trying to stop it from bleeding. He helped carry me all the way back home with a smile, with that smile that he had. I was amazed how he could do backflips. Oh, he could do a backflip over and over and over and over again. He tried to teach me, but no prevail. But at the end of each backflip, he would stop with this incredible smile, which me and my family will never, ever get the chance to see again. Every time I would see him, he would say, "What's up, hey, Nay?" And I could see that smile again through the phone if I was on the phone with him. Byron Lee Williams, my brother, my cousin, was murdered by Las Vegas Police Department for riding a bike without a light. That pain and trauma that has caused has rippled through our entire family. We want justice. We want closure. We want accountability. And we want transparency, as Tina said, under the law for Byron Williams. And we want that now.
Thank you, Renee. The next person we'd like to have you hear from is Oja Vincent from the Las Vegas-based Forced Trajectory Project. Oja.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Oja Vincent. I am here representing the Forced Trajectory Project, which my partner Nisa Sun and I started in 2009 to amplify the narratives of family members who have lost loved ones to police homicide. Currently, our work amplifies the voices of more than 20 police violence cases here in Las Vegas. This collective of impacted people is called Families United for Justice Las Vegas. As we work with this group to support members in the simultaneous process of mourning, healing, and continuing to fight for justice in their loved ones' cases, one of our primary functions is to rehumanize, if you will, those whose lives have been stolen by the police. In every case that we have witnessed, hundreds over the past 11 years, those whose lives have been stolen by police are dehumanized and criminalized in the immediate aftermath of their murder via the so-called official narrative of a given incident, which is presented by the very police forces that committed the murder and substantiated by commercial media outlets in nearly every case. We saw this again in the police homicide that took Byron Williams away from his family and our community at large, as his prior arrest record was exposed and utilized right after he was targeted for allegedly riding his bicycle without a safety light and then subsequently killed. Like hundreds of other cases, his record was used to justify what happened that day, what so many impacted families call their loved one's second death, a character assassination that follows the physical murder of an individual in each case. We are asking the public to stand with us in supporting this family and all the local families and individuals impacted here in our city and state. We are asking you to open your hearts and minds, open your ears to hear about who Byron Williams really was. We are asking you to consult with family members before taking action, to help the pursuit of justice, to remember the man as he was, not as he was vilified by those who wish to escape accountability and perpetuate false narratives. We ask you to echo and amplify the need for accountability for this murder and all misconduct by the police. We're demanding full transparency and the release of all the body-worn camera footage in Mr. Williams' case and in every case of police violence and homicide. Justice for Byron Williams. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, everyone. I'd now like to move us into the Q&A portion. You should see the Q&A box on your screen. If each of the members of the media would type in your name and outlet along with your question, we will activate your mic then one at a time after I call your name and give you an opportunity to speak with our panelists. So while we are doing that and waiting for our first question to come in, let me go back to Mr. Romanucci, please. And Tony, if you'd talk through what is it from a legal perspective that you would like to see now from the Las Vegas police?
Well, certainly we want to emphasize the importance of the transparency, and what Oja just mentioned was the release of all the body cameras. That's equally important. And it's worth mentioning, you know, the issue on the narrative. The reason that the narrative walks into a character assassination after an unnecessary and needless death such as this one is because they have nothing else. So they have to point the blame at another source as opposed to themselves. So in this case, we know that Byron's background has absolutely nothing to do with why he was chased, why he was nailed upon, and why he was killed. But the narrative sounds good if you say, well, Byron was a bad guy. Well, what does that have to do with anything? He was a human being with the same heart, the same blood, the same soul that we all have. It's senseless. And this narrative that's produced after all police encounters that result in injury or death has to stop. But it has to stop at the municipal level, because those municipalities negotiated arm's length with the unions on collective bargaining agreements. And this is what they're allowed to do. They're allowed to get out there and state their own narrative without the victims having a voice. Where's Byron's voice? It's in the grave. Where is his voice for justice? Why is their voice the only one that's accepted? So from a legal standpoint, we would like all the body cameras released immediately. We will be filing a wrongful death lawsuit. We will be filing a lawsuit alleging multiple constitutional violations. But we need the evidence. We don't want to file a lawsuit that's going to be attacked because it's not factually correct because they hid evidence from us. That doesn't make sense either, does it? So if we're forced to do it without everything that we need, we will. We would prefer to have all of the evidence so that we can attack the Las Vegas Police Department on this issue and gain what we need. We're not only seeking money damages here. We want injunctive relief, meaning that we want real problems solved so this doesn't happen again. And I'll state it now, and I'll state it not only for Byron Williams, I'll state it not only for Las Vegas and Clark County and the state of Nevada, but this entire country. The time has come to ban any neck restraints. I know that the George Floyd and Policing Act is looking to ban chokeholds. It's clear that it's time to ban any and all neck restraints because they become deadly. Deadly force is used in circumstances where it's not required. And that's where the needless death comes in.
Thank you, Tony. Our first question, which I think you've largely addressed, but I want to give her the opportunity to ask. Our first question is from Caitlin Newberg with the Las Vegas Review-Journal, asking about pending litigation, but I'll let her ask for herself.
Yeah, like you said, my question was if Mr. Williams' family intends to file any sort of wrongful death lawsuit. I guess to the family directly, my additional question would be, when do you want this lawsuit to be filed, and will that be a step forward in bringing about any sort of feelings of justice?
So I'm not sure if that question is for me or for one of the family members, but maybe I can start it off and then I can hand it over to one of the two Tinas or Renee. The wrongful death lawsuit will be filed as soon as we can. You know, that's more appropriate for the lawyers to answer that question. I know that the family wants that lawsuit filed as soon as possible, and I agree, it should be. But it's so challenging to do that when there are bricks literally placed in front of us, when we confront that brick wall, when we have hurdles to jump where we can't pursue justice. We will pursue justice one way or the other, there's no question. But it would be appropriate if there was transparency on both sides. And that's what we will do.
Tina or Tina, is there anything else you'd like to add about your family's interest in a lawsuit?
I think Tony did a great job answering the question.
Okay, let's, a related question comes from Ricardo Torres with the Las Vegas Sun.
Good afternoon. So I want to know where your efforts stand currently. Has there been contact with Las Vegas police, or what have some of those efforts involved?
There's been no contact from Las Vegas police. They have not reached out directly to the family. We don't have any sort of remorse or apology. All we know is that they feel that their police officers acted reasonably. I would ask you to look at that video and tell me if that looks like reasonable force used upon a human being that's in a prone position on the ground. And certainly, all reasonableness goes out the door when there is a coordinated effort to turn off body cameras at the same exact time. And any benefit of the doubt that there may have been is gone, because now we don't know what they were doing during that period of time when the video was silent, when it went dark. So really, I think what this points to, Ricardo, is this is the continued marginalization of Black people by white police officers. We have to confront this issue. We have to just say it. Are you telling me that a white man on a bicycle would have been hunted and chased down and forced down and handcuffed and subdued because his light wasn't on? It would not have happened. It would not have happened. And we've seen this over and over again. You look at the events of just the past 12 months. You know, this is not a coincidence anymore. This is actual institutional racism. And the only way that there's going to be meaningful change overall, not only on a case-by-case basis, but people are going to be required to vote if they want real change.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to ask Astrid Mendez from Channel 13. She has two questions, one for the family, which we will take first, and then another for Mr. Romanucci.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Astrid Mendez. I'm with Channel 13, as it just was said before. For the family, I wanted to know how has this been for you? How has it been now that Byron basically is gone?
It's just been very painful. He's definitely missed every day, just a year, but everything that he's just missed. And we just want justice for him.
He really brought laughter and joy in our life. He would joke around. One joke he would say, he'd be like, guess who I saw today? We'd be like, who? He'd be like, everyone I saw. Or he'd be like, I saw you. You know, just waking up, you know, smiling, laughing, calling. You know, we're going to miss that. We're going to miss it every single day. It doesn't get better. It gets worse, especially when we have not gotten justice, especially when there are so many accounts and people that are still being murdered in similar manners. Enough is enough, and it needs to stop.
Thank you both. I appreciate that. And for Mr. Romanucci, you mentioned that obviously you want to continue with the lawsuit, but that you need basically all the evidence that it's out there. What will be the next steps in case that they don't release the footage?
Well, if they don't release the footage, Astrid, we will proceed with our lawsuit without the footage. But certainly, you know, there is a requirement when you file a lawsuit to be as you want to give as many facts as you can so that you have a good complaint. We can file a lawsuit without all of the facts. We would prefer to do it with, but if we continue to get stonewalled, then we will fight fire with fire.
Thank you, everyone. I'm just going to hold 1 minute here. If there's anyone else with a question, please submit it right now. I'm going to let Mr. Romanucci provide a bit of a closing remark. Oh, and just as I say that, we do have an additional question from Anita Hassan with the NBC network.
Can you hear me?
We can now.
Okay, sorry about that. Hi all, my question, Mr. Romanucci, is that if you all do have to file the lawsuit without it's kind of a two-pronged question actually. My first question is, what have been the responses when you have, from LVMPD, when you have sought the video from them? And my second question is that if you aren't able to get the video prior to filing the lawsuit, are you going to seek access to that body cam footage during the discovery process?
Absolutely. I think that's a good question because, you know, actually part of what I was going to close, I think I can answer with your question here. The biggest false narrative that I think exists when police departments harm someone or kill someone needlessly, and there's body cam footage available, is that they tell you that they can't release the footage because there's an investigation pending. So I want you to consider that statement and think about how is the investigation impeded with the release of that body cam footage. Well, they think that it's impeded because the public then makes their own judgment on it. Well, shouldn't they? Shouldn't they make their own judgment on it? Is it only up to the police to make their judgment from an administrative standpoint, whether or not the police officers acted in a way consistent with their policies and procedures? That's the investigation that they're talking about. Release the video. By releasing the video, the community gets transparency. And that's how you build trust within the community. Until you don't build trust, we're going to continue to see these First Amendment demonstrations throughout the country demanding the transparency that we're seeing. That's why people are demonstrating, because they're frustrated, they're angry, and they're mad that they can't get the same data that the police rely upon. And then, of course, it all circles back with the narrative. But yes, when we do file a lawsuit, as you know, we will have the power of subpoena, and that subpoena power will be used not only to get the Las Vegas body cam, but any other footage that might be in the area that they collected that we don't know about. We should be entitled, as a matter of law, to the Las Vegas Police Department footage that was on the police officers themselves. That, by law, we should be entitled to. We don't even have to subpoena that. That should just be turned over to us. Any other video footage that wasn't in their control, then that is subject to subpoena.
Anita, did you get both questions answered?
I did, thank you, yes.
Okay, terrific. And we do have a follow-up question from Ricardo Torres with the Las Vegas Sun.
So early on, we heard about the family being showed longer footage that was showed to the public, where they they said they saw way more, saw more of the incident. Have you learned any more of that about that? Have you learned anything else about that footage? Or can you refresh us on what that footage showed?
Ricardo, if that question is to be partially answered by me, we have heard nothing else from the Las Vegas police regarding that footage or the release of any other footage. That's all we have. There's nothing else that we could say that we could share with you to provide a greater picture or greater essence of what happened. There's no more perspective than what was shown to the family. They are maintaining control of what is being shown.
Thank you.
That is clearing our queue of questions. So I will certainly allow Mr. Romanucci to wrap things up with a closing comment.
So I don't have much else. I really said most of what I wanted to say, and you know, clearly it's up to you, the media, eventually to send the message and spread the message that the communities are tired. They are sick and tired of what's happening, and until we are able to build this bridge of trust between police departments and the community, we're going to continue to see this fear-based policing, right? That's what this was. This was clearly fear-based policing to an extent that caused a death of somebody that, as you can see by the family, the tears that they've been shedding, how upset and saddened they are by this life that was taken away from them. And as lawyers, I will tell you, I'm tired of saying the same thing over and over again. Not only do we need police officers to be better trained, we need police departments to spend the money to train their officers in a way that's consistent with reasonable police officers. Showing a training video or having them read a bulletin about a certain aspect that they think satisfies training is not enough. Training does cost money, but think of the cost on the other side in terms of human life and litigation and recovery costs that could be saved with better training. And we could eliminate what we're seeing on these demonstrations across the country, people exercising their First Amendment rights. But now we have people that are upset that there are continued First Amendment right demonstrations, which there should never be any question that people have that continued right. Body cameras were developed and are being required across the country for a reason. And if police officers conspire to turn them off at the same time, then there's no point in a body camera at all. But without body cameras and without video evidence, we never get to the truth either. Because who would have been there to speak for Byron had those body cameras not been on for that little period of time that they were? There would have been nobody, because Byron died. So do you see the conundrum that we're in? Body cameras provide transparency for the police and for the community. I'm certain that there are cases in which community members have made claims against police which have been extinguished because of body camera worn evidence. Well, we're entitled, victims are also entitled to have their day in court and to have justice when that body camera footage shows that police officers did not act reasonably. They violated someone's constitutional rights. They acted in a manner inconsistent with saving life and protecting life rather than taking a life. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Tony. We did have one final question come in, and I think that it's one you would want to respond to. And it is again from Caitlin Newberg at the Review Journal. Why did this case not receive widespread media attention when it happened, and how has that impacted the case and the family?
Well, there's no doubt, Caitlin, that this case did not get the attention that we've seen from other cases, namely from this year, because of the suppression of evidence. Had those officers not, coordinated the effort to turn off body cameras, and had we seen all of it, I don't know what would have happened last year. There could, or there might have been the same demonstrations going on right now for Brianna and for Jacob and for George and for Rayshard. And do we have to continue to say their names? Well, we do, because if we don't say their names, this is what's going to continue to happen. So it's sad. In a way, it's sad that Byron didn't get the due and the attention that he deserved, but he's getting it now. And I don't think it's never too late to get the attention, because Byron, in his death, I promise you, will make a difference.
Thank you, Tony. And thank you everyone for your time and attention to this important case. We will be providing a recording of this press conference for your use within the next hour to hour and a half. And if you have any questions, certainly please reach out to me at jmcguffin@rblaw.net. Thank you very much.